Oh my gosh. Hello? Hold on, give me like 2 seconds. I have a mic here and I don't really know how to use it, so we're just trying to figure it out as we go. Jake, hey, just turn the mic on so you should be able to hear me now. Hello. I don't know if this is working. I'll be right back. How do you turn this off? I'm literally just trying to figure this out as we go. Give me like 2 seconds. How do you turn off your camera? You don't have access to this feature. Literally, give me 2 seconds. Okay, hey girly, I'm back. So first off, I figured out the mic, and you were able to hear me the whole time. So yeah. Anyways, before we begin, I would like to add some context. Oh my god, why are there two people watching? That's weird. Anyways, I would like to add some context. I have a midterm tomorrow and I'm trying to crank out some stuff. So instead of, studying in silence, let's ramble and do a bunch of stuff. So I set up a whole mind map, like the public mind map thing. If you guys search up mind map on Google, you can find the thing that I use. And apparently, my mind map was too big to be able to be saved on the public forum or whatever that they're trying to do. So it's unsaved and it's a huge file of the entire half semester. And we are just trying to get through this business course now. I did leave out a couple things within this mind map, mainly because one, I was tired and I didn't want to add it in. And the other one would be stuff. Anyways, I think we can begin now. I have no idea how to share my screen. I'm literally just trying my best. Anyways, So we are going to begin business management. And honestly, should I just move my webcam so you can see the guys? I didn't prepare for this. Anyways, this is top quality content. Honestly, it's a good day to just do this just because and have nobody watch me because everything is okay. I set up a whole black screen and everything behind my setup. Yeah. Because originally I thought that I was going to be standing up and filming, and turns out my camera didn't connect because, I thought it was going to be like a camera that I could just use to connect to the stream, but that's not how it worked. And the camera only connected to the computer's files, so I can only pull up videos and photos from the camera. So that's how it is. Also, fit check. I have pink trousers. Okay, let's actually do stuff. Can we see? Guys, this is a great live stream. But once again, it's a great thing that nobody's here. Okay. Just gonna push this back. I'm gonna push it all the way back, actually. Guys. I can't believe I'm putting this on my back. Wires are good for the environment. No, they're not. Wires are good for my stuff because it actually keeps it. Okay, so you can't see me anymore because of the lighting of the computer, but honestly I think I would prefer it that way. Anyways, so do you like this very put together mind map? And it looks pretty now, but let me tell you, it's gonna be crazy later. So let us begin this incredible journey of business management 101, 1010, business 1010. So to begin, actually, I'm gonna sit down now. Oh my god, there's 0 people on here. That's great. This is great news for me. I don't have any more public frights anymore. Anyways. We're gonna start off with business in the middle right here. And the most important part of business is going to be the factors of production, like what is being made. So let's expand this map up with the main theme being factors of production. Now, we want to put in input because you always have to put in something to get out of something. You are producing something. This is the factors of production. And we are going to be inputting conductive resources, which basically just means that resources to produce a service. It's specifically to produce something, right? And the main things that we have to memorize basically is factors of production, input, capital, labor, natural resources, entrepreneurship, knowledge, and that's within the theme of input. And just to delve in deeper, in terms of capital, money is not included in capital. What we mean by capital within business is economic capital, which is anything that is manufactured to help the business. So for example, that would be machinery and equipment used to create a product. Another example of capital is labor, but actually, so you can see the connection right there. Labor is also its own category, which includes mental and intellectual labor and physical labor, which we all know what that is. Another conductive resource includes natural resources, which can be fuel, energy, land, livestock, and the sun, anything that is natural and made by the nature. The next conductive resource is entrepreneurship. This is a skill to be able to recognize profit opportunities, to be able to organize, accept risk, and do all of that startup business adventure jazz. And the fifth conductive resource is not actually an official one. This was just discussed in my class. This is knowledge, which basically consists of human skill and experience. So that's basically what you are inputting um, into an operation to create a product. This is the factors of production. So, with all of that being the input, all those conductive resources, again, that is capital, labor, natural resources, entrepreneurship, and knowledge, what is the output? Well, the output is basically goods and services. So that's basically all you need to know. Like the input is what I listed earlier, and the output is goods and services. And to be more specific, once you create those goods and services, the company will have some profit and loss. And to define further, a loss is when your cost exceeds your revenue, so you're spending more than you are getting back. And your profit is when your revenue exceeds your cost, which is mean what you're making from your products is more than what you are using to create those products. Anyways, so in the middle, we have breaking even, and that usually means your revenue is equal to your cost. And this usually means that you are getting ready to level up, which is why I organized it to loss, breaking even, and then profit. Um, so one way to find out whether you're going to be breaking even is your break even analysis. And that is your fixed cost of a product divided by the contribution cost. And contribution cost basically just means materials, packaging, transportation, and any other retail fees and such to create an item. So, a little bit of a side tangent for profit and loss. There is a nonprofit business and a for-profit business. Nonprofit business basically just generate profit to receive, and like nonprofit organizations slash businesses make and generate profit slash receives contributions from donators to provide an income for their mission. They're resourcing their mission. Um, and nonprofit businesses include public services. They try to advance a cause and assist in their community, which is not taxed. And since nobody is watching me, and this is going to stay on the internet forever, thoughts on College Board? Yeah, nonprofit my, but anyways, we have for-profit businesses which make money and get taxed. So basically that's all you need to know about the factors of productions. Super easy, and I just want to highlight the yellow again because that is important within the blue theme. You know, you guys like how I organized and color coordinated this? So, factors of production, input, capital, labor, natural resources, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. Factors of production's output, goods and services, and the break even analysis being fixed costs divided by contribution costs. So, let's collapse that subtree because what a beautiful thing to finish up, right? So, our next thing for business management is to take a little look at stakeholders. This is actually a pretty small subunit, so we don't really have to use a lot of brain power. But basically, a stakeholder is anybody who has a legit interest in the business, and that would be some internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders are actually employees, owners, and managers because they want the company to profit and do well, right? Um, some external stakeholders are suppliers, the governments, shareholders, customers, society, and creditors. So when I brought up this topic to my mentor and I was talking about how my business class is doing an assignment on stakeholders, he was really surprised because usually shareholders are the most important. And though that is true, we just wanted to have a more holistic view of like share stakeholders and people who have a stake in the business. Um, but yeah, like the government has a stake on the business with like regulations and like all of that jazz. So anyways, all you need to remember for stakeholders is internal and external, and you can honestly just go from there. So the next off, we're gonna finish off all of the small sub trees, and the next thing for business is motivation. And this was more of a discussion topic within class, so it's not really on the midterm. But motivations for business may include generational wealth, innovation, financial freedom, being your own boss, and general desires and quality of life. So honestly, like pretty valid reasons to start a business. And yeah, those are all of the small ones. This gray one right here actually expands more, so that's not really a small section. Anyways, so let's get into globalization. Function area is going to be a huge subsection. I mean, globalization is a huge subsection, but let's talk about, or function areas here. This one's going to be big, so that's on the side. But globalization. Oops. Okay. Yes, this is a big, big tree. So under globalization, this big term right here, we're just going to talk about what it is first. Basically, globalization is the shift towards a more integrated economy, and it's a mix of cultures, ideas, and beliefs. While if we compare that to an international business, it basically just means a business that has like has opened up a business within two different nations and like crosses some sort of border. So it's very small scale compared to globalization, which is the integration of just everything, right? So I want to talk about within globalization the economic, legal, competitive, technological, and social aspects of globalization, because those are really our main themes that we really need to focus on. So, some economic themes in globalization is basically just the economy of every country that participates in globalization, or just any country ever. So in economic globalization, we have things such as purchasing power parity, or PPP right here. It's a way to measure a country's level of economic development. So a higher PPP would say that you are more economically developed compared to a PPP that is lower. So one thing that is very important in globalization economic edition, I don't know what to say, is the exchange rate. So the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is in charge of setting rates and helping short-term economies. So what I mean by setting rates and just exchange rates in general is how much a currency costs in one country versus another. So you guys know how like I don't know the specifics, but you know, like $1 can equal an X amount in Canadian money, or like in won, or in pesos. Like different $1 means different things in different currencies and countries. So another thing that we want to talk about within the economic globalization are some emerging markets. So some things that we discussed in class or listed in class are Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Another thing within globalization, so everyone now, is supply and demand, or in other words, inflation and deflation. You know, past couple of months, like the US has been going through an inflation period and everybody has been going crazy. So, you know, supply and demand. And this isn't really something that is specific for the midterm. It was just something discussed in class, and I think it was a really interesting topic to add onto the mind map. So it's there. Yeah, I made this mind map for me. So, anyways, we have some indexes to measure how an economy is doing. And those indexes include the gross domestic product, the GDP, the consumer price index, the CPI, and the unemployment rate or employment rates. And I don't really have like a definite definition for them, but like from the top of my head, like gross domestic product is like how much products is the country creating, and like consumer price index is how much the consumers can pay, and like unemployment is just how employed and unemployed is the population of your country. Now, those three definitions that I just gave are not absolute. I kind of just made that up in my head, so feel free to fact check me on that. But those are just the three types of indexes that measures a country's economic levels. So the last thing within the globalization economic subsection is the gross national income per capita, which basically just means like the more disposable income available by their people per nation. So that's what I wrote down here. But what it means basically is in your entire nation, and like the average income per person in your nation, how much disposable income do they have, right? Because we all have to pay taxes on that jazz. So like net income, gross income. So yeah, gross national income. How much how much gross income do you have disposable? Because that's literally what gross income is. My midterm is tomorrow. I don't know what I'm doing. No, I do know what I'm doing. That's why I'm live streaming. We gotta talk positive here. So anyways, that's the first subsection of globalization. And the second one is legal, like legal stuff within globalization. And that includes like different trademarks, contracts, labeling, patents, and censorship within each specific country. And we want to turn and shift our attention to trade restrictions. So I just want to point out the little color key real quick. Blue is main theme, yellow is important topics to memorize, and orange is more detailed but like very important still. So in terms of trade restrictions, we have import tariffs, which are basically just tax on goods and services imported into a country. We have import quotas, which is a limit on the amount of goods and services that we can import in. And a really important one is local content requirements, which basically means you can only employ local people within the country that you are setting up your business in. You cannot bring people outside the country to work for your international business. And that's basically what it means. You have to employ local people, like local content requirement. Anyways, so the last theme within trade restrictions is embargoes, and that basically is an official ban on trade/commercial activities on certain countries. And I think Venezuela was one of the examples that we discussed in class, but that's basically what embargoes are. It usually happens during like war and all of that stuff. So I'm sure you guys have discussed embargoes within 10th grade US history, because that's where I'm getting it from. But yeah, those are like the legal aspects of globalization that businesses should keep an eye on. So next we have competitive, like globalization. Competition within globalization kind of forces businesses to go against each other, because you guys have a set amount of consumer population, and you got to get the attention of your consumers. So a lot of businesses would like improve their menu offerings, switch up their marketing tactics, and like switch up their operation processes. Competition is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to globalization. So technology within globalization basically just means keeping up to date with what is the technological advancement at the time and for that specific country. So I don't really have a definition in this subtree either. It's mainly just like free Wi-Fi, self-serving kiosks, phone charging in the restaurants, data mining, and like geared ads. So a lot of companies now would like try to collect data on you and sell your profile to other companies and that kind of stuff to give you geared ads. Anyways, so the last theme within globalization is the social aspect. And once again, not really a real definition because I'll discuss that further in a different subsection. But for social, I have an example of different menus for different regions and understanding cultural impacts. So, for example, in class, we talked about McDonald's and them opening up in India, and they had to change their meat options to like halal meat and meat that is culturally and religiously appropriate for people in India to consume. So, yeah. So, to quickly wrap this up in globalization is basically a shift towards a more integrated economy, and that will be cultures, ideas, and beliefs. And the important things within globalization we need to remember is economic, legal, competitive, technological, and social. And the last thing that we will discuss within globalization is different organizations made to create businesses and people within the global economy. So we have the World Trade Organization, WTO, and their job is to develop a general agreement on trade and tariffs. So, you know how earlier we were talking about trade restrictions and all of that jazz. The World Trade Organization monitor trade agreements and provide a form of negotiation between different countries. They definitely are like, we have to be transparent with everything that is going on. So the World Trade Organization also has a most favored nation status, MFN, which requires that a country must apply the same terms and conditions of trade with any and all other World Trade Organization members. Basically, they're just trying to keep the playing field fair, and the MFN just has to apply the same terms to everybody else. So, the second organization I will be talking about is the World Bank, and their job basically is to promote economic and social progress. They offer low interest loans and grants to countries, I think. I don't know. I was watching a really negative perspective of the World Bank or something like a couple months ago. So I honestly don't remember. But yeah, I actually don't know much. I'm just trying my best, guys. Anyways, so the final organization that we need to learn about is the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Oh, I think it was the IMF that I watched the video on, not the World Bank. But honestly, is there a difference? JK, I don't know. Y'all, I'm just trying my best. Anyways, so the International Monetary Fund fosters global growth and stability. They work with developing countries to reduce poverty, and basically, the members within the International Monetary Fund can borrow from a fund that they all contribute to help them whenever they're experiencing a balance of payment issues. And we will be defining balance of payments very soon. So, once again, let's just do a quick recap of globalization before we end it off. Globalization is a shift towards a more integrated economy with cultures, ideas, and beliefs being shared throughout the globe. So, we have themes like economic themes and things such as purchasing power parity, PPP, International Monetary Fund, IMF, exchange rates, emerging markets, gross domestic product, consumer price index, employment, gross national income per capita. So that's within economic. So in legal, we have trade restrictions such as import tariffs, import quotas, local content requirements, and embargoes. And next off, we have competition, technological, social, and lastly, we have rounding it off with organizations such as the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, again, which was mentioned up here in economic. So yeah, basically, we just gotta remember the yellow and the orange, and that's what we need, you know? So next off, we're going to be talking about the external forces since it's very related to globalization. So, external forces that may affect a business. So, once again, very similar to the globalization, but this is more within one country, like where your business is located. So, external forces. So, we have some economic forces that may drive a business. Excuse me. Do I have water? Oh my god. Thank God, y'all. I'm not even Christian. It's been 30 minutes. I don't know. I'm trying my best. I hope, I'm heard. That's it. This is. I wish I could zoom in. Wow. Guys, I'm a genius. Okay. It's not like it could be seen anyways, but. Oh my gosh. I'm a little disorientated because this is not how I usually work. Okay, so now that we took a little bit of a break, let's just continue talking about external forces and forces that affect businesses. So we're going to begin with economic forces, and economic forces are usually tied to a country's political economy. So, for example, we have three different types of political economy. We have a capitalistic economy or a free market, we have a command economy, and then we have a mixed economy. So, a free market or capitalistic economy basically just means free trade, and businesses are allowed to profit and keep profit for everything that they made from the revenue. So, they're doing their thing. In a command economy, which is more seen in communist regime and all that jazz, is when a government controls and approves the factors of productions, which we spoke about earlier. And just to review, it is capital, labor, natural resources, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. See, guys, I'm remembering things. But basically, the government has to control and approve the factors of production. And finally, in a mixed economy, it is both capitalistic and command economy. And that basically means the government comes in to basically aid the public, set some regulations and restrictions. Technically, the US is a capitalistic economy / free market, but we are, like said by my professor, a mixed economy because the government does come in to help regulate all of that jazz. But honestly, in my brain, just quick discussion, I honestly, I think everybody is just a mixed economy. I feel like we're too multifaceted to just be that one thing. Because originally, when we were just learning about this, I kind of put US in the capitalistic economy and then China in command economy, which is technically true. But then my professor was like, actually, the US and China are in a mixed economy. Their political economy affects their economic economy. I don't know, man. But yeah. Anyways, so some legal forces that may affect a business may include regulations, law, and liabilities, and this affects how a company sells, market, labels, and manufactures their products and services. So we discussed earlier, in globalization, that trade tariffs are a thing, but since this is more within the business's location / country, legal forces just deals with regulations, laws, and liabilities. So, anyways, we have competitive forces that affect the businesses, which basically just means local versus big box businesses and technological competition. Once again, technology is a form of competition, but because technology has grown so big, it is one of the new forces that may affect a business. So, we just have some examples of just digital tools, telecommunication, and e-commerce. I think we are all very aware. What is that? I don't know. Like, we're already aware of it, Slay. Like social media, which is what I'm on right now. To live stream. Honestly, should I just get a Twitch instead of a YouTube channel? No. I'm a basic. Anyways, I'm bored, okay? I'm just here for a good time. Anyways, so the next force that affects business is the social force. It is the values, attitudes, belief, wants, and desires of the consuming public. And like a business gotta know how to speak to the people's social desires. Like, those are forces that are important to making a business. So, anyways, if we go down here, it is corporate social responsibility, which compels businesses to be ethical and helpful to the community. So, it's kind of just like a mind thing where they're just like, you gotta support charity and like you have a social responsibility to be good, which I agree with. So, we have been talking a lot about climate change and environmental health and how companies have the ability to do better and to create more environmentally friendly impacts. But that's a conversation that will pop up again later in this mind map. Don't worry, guys. I'm here to do a lot of stuff. So, the last force that affects a business is global. But you see right here, we talked about globalization earlier, and now it's global again because global forces do be kind of crazy, and there was a lot of information to unpack. So I kind of just separated it out. So, anyways, we're going to talk about free trade and formal trade, which all basically just goes back to the global trade / global market right here. So let's begin. Why would a company try to go global? Well, maybe it's because access to factors of production. I think that's a really important one because some businesses don't have access to certain products because of the country that they are in. And yeah, if your home country is low and / doesn't have the product that you need for your business to pop off, then you gotta go global. So, anyways, an example of that is absolute and comparative advantages within the global market. So basically, an absolute advantage means that a country is the only source or creates more of something with the same amount of stuff than any other country. So, for example, we have like edible redbird's nest, which can only be found in Thailand. And Thailand, guys, I know what Thailand is. I know the country. I think it's because it's 11 p.m. Anyways, I'm BSing right now. Anyways, so absolute advantage basically means the simplest term is it's the only source out there. And yeah. So compare that to a comparative advantage, when a company or country produces goods at a lower relative opportunity cost. So the main word there is like comparative, like compared to X country, Y country can create goods at a lower cost, so we can buy more with less. And for an example of that is Ecuador's production of bananas. So that is absolute and comparative advantage. So let's collapse that. So why would a business go global again besides access to factors of production? Well, another thing is innovation and ideas, things such as unmet needs in specific countries and unique products in specific countries. Being introduced to a different culture and being introduced to different religions and different beliefs and ideals definitely gives businesses ideas and innovation to bring back to their home country or to help make new ideas in the new country. So, yeah. Anyways, So one thing that is super important is the balance of trade, which is what I mentioned earlier with globalization. So let me open this back up. So in organization, we talked about how the International Monetary Fund members can contribute to a fund to take out whenever they need, whenever they're going through a little bit of a balance of payment crisis. But I think I went ahead of myself a little bit. So let's talk about the balance of trade first. So balance of trade is basically just the formula for the balance of trade is basically the value of exports minus the value of imports. And that's basically just how much is going in and out. You know, if you're exporting a lot, then you're pushing a lot of products out, but you're getting a lot of money in. If you are getting a lot of imports, it means you're getting a lot of products in, but you're like letting a lot of money go out, mainly because like you're paying for the product and you're paying taxes. So, which is why countries would prefer exports because you're making money, you know? So if we have too many exports, that is a trade surplus. And if we have too many imports, that is a trade deficit. So let's talk about the balance of payments now, like I was mentioning earlier with the International Monetary Fund. So the balance of payment is just the formula is basically just inflow minus outflow, and inflow is basically the total money in, and the outflow is total money out. So what I mean by total is like all debts, all interest, all taxes, like everything within the country is calculated in the inflow and outflow. So if there's a bit of an outflow problem, you gotta reach out to the IMF. Anyways, so in the global trade market, not everybody is gonna be able to pay for everything because we have super rich countries and then super poor countries, and we also have super rich businesses and super poor businesses, and we're just trying to make it through. You know, we're truly just trying to make it through. So here we have a yellow box, which means it is very important to learn more about it. So a counter trade basically is an exchange of stuff other than money. So you're trying to buy some goods and services, but you're not trying to pay that real bling bling because you don't got that bling bling. Like we're bougie on a budget. So some examples and most common types of counter trades, because there's definitely more than the 5 that we have on screen. But the most common is a barter counter trade, which is basically just a direct goods for goods trade. Like I'll give you a pencil and you give me a pen kind of situation. Another one is switch trading, which is very interesting because I don't really have a great understanding of this, but here's my take on it. So just reading it out loud, it is selling to another company its obligation to make a purchase in a certain country. So let's say I have to buy X product from Canada, right? And I don't want to do that anymore because I'm sure Canada has a deal with me to make sure that I'm only buying from Canada, but I can't do it no more. I want to buy it from somewhere else. So I'm just switch trading. I'm switching the obligation to somebody else. So somebody else is going to buy my obligation to buy X products from Canada for whatever they're offering me. So that's what I'm assuming. There has to be a benefit from this if it's a common thing to trade, you know? So we're just trading obligations. We're switching our trading obligations. So our next one is a counter purchase. Basically, just reading that out loud, sales to one company in another country, with a promise that future purchases will be with the same company. So a counter purchase is just I'll buy it from you and you gotta promise me that you're gonna buy from me, right? Sales to one company in another country with the promise that future purchases will be made with the same company. Honestly, I'm just promising to stick with the same person. Like, I'm not allowed to have hoes. It's on the contract. Tis all. That is what counter purchase is. So another form of counter trade is a buyback. And basically, a firm or business builds a plant or supplies technology and equipment and training to a country and will take a percentage of the output as partial payment. So I'll be like, I'll set this up for you, and whatever profit you make from that, I'll take 20% of. Basically, Shark Tank, you know, a buyback. Like Miss Girl Lori is going to be investing technology and training into Scrub Daddy, and Scrub Daddy has to give her a percentage. But like buyback is more bigger and international and not per business. But you know what I mean. Anyways, so the last most common counter trade is an offset, and that basically means that future hard currency purchase in the future. Well, yeah. Okay, so basically an offset is just I'll buy this now, and um in the future I'll like for a different product, it's gonna be like, so we had this deal a while ago where you bought this and I didn't receive anything, and now I'm gonna get this for free. I don't know. Offset is in the name. Like honestly, just figure it out, girly. Um. So yeah. Anyways, so strategies of the global market, which is very important, guys. You gotta know this. Is all of this orange stuff, right? This is a big category, but it's not that big. Don't be nervous. I'm here to help. So the first most common global strategy is importing and exporting. It's basically the quickest and least expensive way for a company to like get into the global market, and the company doesn't even need to make the product in the specific target country. Like you can just make it anywhere, and you're just good to go. But a disadvantage is you're losing control over your stuff and you don't really have much insight on your products and you don't know anything about your customers. And also taxes if you're doing imports. So yeah. Anyways, the next thing is outsourcing and offshoring, which is basically the same thing, but outsourcing is you're contracting a business to an outside business to do a certain process for you. So, like putting stuff together, right? Or offshoring is just you are relocating your business somewhere else. And basically, the reason that businesses would want to do this is because of lower costs in other countries. Like a lot of things that we have in the US is made from China, mainly because of outsourcing and offshoring. Like it's labor is cheaper over there. So, you know. And another advantage is the destination that the business chose gains a lot of local jobs. But it's sus because sweatshops and unethical working environments are at play. Like there's a lack of control of what the heck that like warehouse is doing with your stuff, okay? Sweatshops and unethical work environments. Xian, I'm looking at you. Anyways, I hope this is entertaining because it's been 15 minutes. Anyways, so we're just gonna move on. The next strategy that some business may use in the global market is licensing and franchising, which is a very interesting concept. Licensing is just giving somebody the permission to use an intangible property, and that may be trademark, images, patents, product techniques, and just stuff that isn't really a physical product, it's intangible property. It's an idea, it's a concept, and you're licensing it to another company to use. And franchising is access to knowledge, processes, and trademark to sell product under a brand name. So if we take a look at McDonald's, it is a huge franchise, but McDonald's itself doesn't own every single store. It franchises every single store, and each store has a franchisee because McDonald's is a franchisor, the person that's giving out the franchise. The franchisee buys the rights to franchise the franchisor's brand name, McDonald's, and the franchisee is just doing all that jazz under the brand name. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages, right? Like, businesses can have a global presence without heavy investments because the business itself is not doing anything. The outside people are coming in to license and franchise your brand name, identity, and all that jazz. So you can have a global presence without doing anything, basically. And for the licensee and franchisee, there's an immediate competitive advantage because the brand is already recognized as a good thing. Like, the main business has already done all of the heavy lifting. It's also really quick and it has efficient operations that is proven to work because the main business already has its jazz together, and it's an inexpensive way to access the new market. Like, come on. For the business, not the franchisee though, because some disadvantages include it is the least profitable. It may be the most inexpensive way to enter the market, but it is also the least profitable way to enter a market because you cannot really grow from there as a franchisee. Like, as a franchise, you're not gonna make much money from like doing that. Like, you have to make a brand first and like people have to buy from you. So like it's not really the best, but like it's an afterthought. And like for franchisees, like you're just using somebody else's brand. So there's not much you can like expand from. But in terms of like the disadvantages for the business itself, there's a loss of control. Like, you cannot control every single franchise that is out there in your name. Like, some may ruin that image for you, but you can't control it. But it's the risk that you are willing to take if you want to make more money. And another disadvantage is most of the profit usually remains in the destination that the franchise is open in. So yeah. So for the franchisee, a disadvantage is a high initial cost and an annual fee to hold that franchise open because you need to pay for my brand. You know what I mean? And yeah, like honestly, for the franchisee, there's not a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of strict rules and branding that you have to comply to if you decide to do franchising. So, that's the thing. Are we close to finishing? No, we're not. So, yeah, we have a couple more global strategies to discuss. Next is a foreign direct investment, which basically just means like controlling ownership in a business enterprise in one country by an entity in another. That's just me reading out loud. But that basically means I'm in the US, but I have a business in like Ireland. Foreign direct investment. I am directly investing in a foreign business under my name kind of vibe. So there are two types of foreign direct investments, or two most common types of foreign direct investments, and that will be Greenfield Venture, which is a new subsidiary as a setup business in a new country. And that basically means opening a brand new business from scratch under your name in a new country. Greenfield Venture. Excuse me. But yeah, usually those businesses like that decide to do a greenfield venture has like a lot of money to open that. So it's, from scratch, but not that scratch. The second most common foreign direct investment are mergers and acquisitions. Mergers basically mean two similar size like businesses merge into one brand. And this could be overseas because we're talking about foreign direct investments. And another one is an acquisition, which basically means a big business is buy over a small business. This is usually meant to just get rid of competition within that certain economic market. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically it, So anyways, so advantages of foreign. I'm getting tired, you can tell. So one advantage of a foreign direct investment is you're purchasing assets when you are merging and acquisiting with another company because they already have things set up. You're just buying their stuff, right? And if you're doing mergers, you can pay the right price if you're doing things smartly. But a disadvantage is that you are investing a lot of time and money into your mergers, acquisitions, and greenfield ventures. Like you have to do a lot of research in the country that you're doing it in and the company that you're buying and all that stuff, right? And there's a lot of strict rules in new countries, and there's a lot of strict rules in a business that is not yours, that is separate from yours. Greenfield ventures take time because you have to understand the country's legal aspects and just setting up from there. And also another disadvantage is like, how earlier we talked in the advantages, like paying the right price. Some merchants overpay. They don't pay the right price. They overpay. But honestly, good for the second business, Slay. So yeah. So the last strategy for global trade markets, sorry, I forgot the main theme of this, is joint ventures and strategic alliance. So basically, let's break it down. A joint venture is a new business, completely brand new, created by two or more independent businesses, and they both share resources and investments. A strategic alliance is an ally between two or more corporations, and everybody is based in their home country. And this alliance is only for a short period of time, and no new companies actually formed. But the reason that strategic alliances are made is to share knowledge and experience. While joint ventures also share knowledge and experience, but it also helps you reduce losses because both companies are invested into this brand new company. And also, like, if the country that you are partnering up with is overseas, they have in country knowledge and in country perspective that is important to your business. But joint ventures and strategic alliances are the most intensive approach to a global market strategy, like entering the global market. It is definitely a long-term plan, which, very similar to Greenfield Venture. Like, once again, the word venture, you're basically opening up a brand new thing. Anyway, so a disadvantage to joint venture and strategic alliance is a conflict over control. You are partnering up with another company overseas, and you risk any innovations that you guys create together being taken over, and like them opening up a new business and being your competitor. Or yeah, no, literally. So just to review, the strategies within the global markets include exports and imports, outsourcing and offshoring, licensing and franchising, foreign direct investments, and joint ventures and strategic alliances. So those are the strategies within the global trade market. And just a quick review on counter trade, which is the exchange of something other than money. We have the barter, direct goods to goods, switch trading, selling the obligation, counter purchase, saying I'll promise to buy from you again and only you. A buyback is a partial payment, and an offset is I'll offset amount of money that you can pay next time. So that's that in the global trade market. But now we have these 3 boxes that have not been discussed yet. And so, why do you go into the global trade market, right? We just discussed strategies and how a lot of it is like partnering up with global forces and businesses. And the reason that businesses do that is to like lower risks because of like multiple foreign partners. You are like depending, like you have your dependency is spread out, and it's not like dependent on a single partnership, which I think is very important to put your eggs in multiple baskets. So anyways, next in the global trade market is a global trade forces. What is affecting your global trade market? Like, what are the forces that are affecting you? And very similar to globalization and very similar to external forces within a specific company, global trade forces follow the same themes, such as sociocultural um, forces, such as culture, languages, customs and taboos, value, time and punctuality, business norms, religious beliefs, and celebrations. So you gotta be important. You gotta be careful if you're going to do international business, global business, because you gotta keep track of like time and punctuality. I don't know which country is very punctual with their business, but I do know that France has a France has a time problem. Oh, France has a France. The French just have a stereotype of not being punctual, and everybody's like 5 to 10 minutes late all the time. But that's okay. Oh yeah, like German people are totally punctual or something like that, but the trains aren't. I don't know. Like I don't know. But yeah, you gotta be careful with that. Like celebrations and religious reliefs, like don't be making jokes over there. Anyways, so political economy. So earlier we were talking about capitalistic economy slash free market. We were talking about a command economy, and we were also talking about a mixed economy. All of that actually kind of boils down to the degree of economic freedom actually correlates to an economic growth. It's directly proportionate to one another. And companies are often invested in stable government. So if you don't have a stable government, like there's a very low chance of a company opening up a business in your country. But yeah, political economy is important for global trade forces. Oh my god. Okay. I'm ready to get through this today, okay? So, another global trade force is legal differences. So you have to be careful of regulations, contracts, trademarks, labeling, patents, and censorship. You have to be aware of the price floors and ceilings. How much can you spend and how little can you spend? You have to be careful of product safety. You have to be careful of product testing and doing correct quality control, because different countries have different qualifications that you have to pass in order to sell your product. You also have to be very careful about conservation regulations, which basically just means environmental protection. So earlier when I was talking about CO2 levels, y'all gotta be careful with that, because like the environment is literally dying and we cannot be creating that much CO2. Come on guys, make some environmentally friendly choices, because I can't do this no more. Let me take a break first. Hold on. Okay, so more legal differences include financial reporting. So specifically in the US, all corporations and businesses have to do a financial report every quarter, so 4 times a year, and have to be fully transparent of all their stuff so everybody knows what's going on and the government can keep track of you and all that jazz. Anyways, another thing in legal differences are privacy laws. And you know how earlier we were talking in globalization, like technology and data mining and like selling personal information and like geared ads. So, every country is different with their privacy laws. So, even every state is different with their privacy laws. So, businesses should just know. Do your research, you guys. So, we have more to talk about within global trade forces, and another one is physical and environmental forces that may affect business in the global market. And it could be infrastructure differences, which may include transportation, storage, and limited access to electricity and water and any other resource that we need. So, take for example the US. It is a very car centric economy and just country in general. Like, you gotta have a car. But take for another country that isn't very road centric, and they are more of like a walking sustainability country. Like, you're not going to be able to transport like that mass goods if roads aren't accessible, or like if this country is small, you're not gonna have enough space for storage. And if a country is like lower, I don't know what that means. If they're a rural country or something, like they're gonna have limited access to like water and electricity. So be careful of that. And also about natural environmental disasters, because we be going cray cray. Y'all heard about Pakistan. Was it Pakistan? I think it was. The flooding. Honestly, I really truly hope that things get better, but like we never know. I'm just here. I'm literally dying on the inside. Anyways, so the final forces that affect businesses within the global market is tariffs and non-tariffs. Basically, that just means trade agreements, and that includes bam, 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 3 different subcategories. Regional trade agreements just basically means little huddles. So, for example, like the US, Mexico, Canada agreement, like we're just in that region and we've agreed to trade with each other because it's the easiest. We also have like the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, I think. I don't know. It's the abbreviations are like USMCA and then ASEAN. It's not really important. Just know that regional trade agreements are like huddles of countries in the same region. Another trade agreement are custom unions and common market. So, custom unions are special agreements for free trade on products within the custom unions, and a common external tariffs, which is CET. CET, common external tariff, distinguishes common union from regional trade agreements. And that basically means country A and country B have agreed to have a common union of free trade. Like you can go this and with this without paying tariffs. But one thing that is important about custom unions is that there are no free flow of capital and labor. It is only just goods and services. So you're not allowed to just flow around resource like capital and labor and factors of production. But common market, on the other hand, follow the same rules as a custom union. But the thing that differentiates is it allows free movement of resources, such as labor, because labor is a factor of production. It's a resource. It's a conductive resource. Is it? Is that the word? Conductive? Hell yeah, it is conductive resources. I'm so smart. So yeah, that's it about custom unions and common market. The last type of trade agreement is an economic union, and that eliminates internal barriers and adopt common external barriers. Basically, it's just like it permits free movement of resources and adopts a common set of economic policies. For example, the European unions, because the Europeans aren't unique and they kind of just they're like, yeah, we're one now. Except we're not one, but we're one. That's my thoughts. So yeah, that's what is important with tariffs and non-tariffs, trade agreements, all of that jazz. And lastly, we have, hold on. Let me just open this all up because I think it's important to like do a quick overview of everything before we end things. Yeah, it's a big like global market stuff is a big category. So lastly, we have ethical challenges that affects the global market and things that, change it around, all that fun jazz. And ethical challenges include sweatshops, which we mentioned earlier, Shan. But anyways, another one is corruption, such as like bribery. So in 1977, we had the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which basically is like y'all are not allowed to bribe people, because there was a lot of examples and experiences of bribery and it didn't work well. And it was in the presentation, but I didn't write it down because I didn't want to, because I was lazy and bored. And I'm gonna suffer the face of my consequences. It is what it is. Anyways, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, is basically just an organization that defined bribery standards and are now just like keeping an eye over everybody to make sure that you guys are doing good and not doing bad, but like, everything is sus. There's a lot of corruption in this world. Like, I'm just trying to live. Anyways, but there are a lot of different cross-cultural perspectives, such as chronism, and basically to break that word down is foundation for trust. Like somebody in the examples, or like in the presentation, basically, it noted that a businessman basically chose to do a specific deal because the businessman was already friends with this businessman, and that businessman was in a specific business that was separate. Like basically chronism, foundation of trust. Is that bribery? I don't know. You guys are just friends. Like you guys are just like buddies. So, So that was a lot to go through. And that was all freaking under global right here. And that global was under external forces that affects the community. So let's since we finished this, let's talk about it again. External forces that may affect a business includes economic, which is tied to the country's political economy, capitalistic economy, command economy, and mixed economy. Then we have legal forces, competitive forces, technological forces, and social forces. And the most important, which are global forces. And global forces are directly tied to the global market and the global trade. And within the global market and the global trade, businesses decide to go in because of access to factors of production. And countries such as Thailand have absolute advantage, while countries such as Ecuador have comparative advantages. So an important thing about the balance of trades is that, how much is a country exporting and importing. It's basically how a country measures its global trade. Another thing is the balance of payment, which we talked about earlier with the International Monetary Fund. So some things that we do within the global market and the global trade are counter trades, because sometimes we don't have money and we do be doing bartering, we do be switch trading, we do be counter purchasing, we do be buying back, and we do be offsetting. So once again, barter, direct goods to goods. Switch trading, I'm selling my obligation to somebody else to buy from a certain country. Counter purchase is I'll buy from here and I promise that I won't always buy from you, baby girl. A buyback is I'm gonna do a thing for you and I'll take a percentage as partial payment. Then an offset is like we'll do this now, but like in the future we'll just like not like I'll take this product for less than it actually is. Like I'm offsetting the price. So, those are that counter trading within the global market. So some strategies that businesses might take up in the global market is exporting and importing, offshoring and outsourcing, licensing and franchising, foreign direct investment, joint ventures, and strategic alliance, which really coincides with the risk reduction if you are in a strategic alliance, and just having exchanging a lot of knowledge and experience with countries and businesses in a different country. So some global trade forces, because that is also important, and what pushes global trade are sociocultural impacts, political economy, legal differences, physical and environmental, and tariffs and non-tariffs, which include like trade agreements such as regional trade agreements, customs union and common markets, and the economic union, because that is important. And also ethical challenges like corruption and sweatshops, because people are cray cray. So damn, that was a lot. Like I'm tired. But yeah. That's crazy. Do you guys see this? Global market had all of this. And that's all in global. And global is within the external forces, because the external forces that affects a business is economic, legal, competitive, technological, social, and global. It's crazy. But anyways, now we made it back to the teeny tiny mind map that we started off with. And we have 2 more big categories to go through. Isn't that insane? And I didn't even do one whole presentation because I was too lazy to go through it. Yeah. So now I want to talk about the function areas. Like, how does a business function? We know how a business creates a product, and like we talk about goods and services, but that doesn't really do much. So, anyways, we gotta talk about the function areas and about how a business functions. So let's talk about it. It's gonna be a really big section too, this one. But basically, the main stuff is management, operation, marketing slash sales, finance and accounting, and research and development. So we have 5 different categories, 5 main function areas that is very important to a business functionability. Okay, management, operations, marketing and sales, finance and accounting, research and development. And I think the roles for that is for management, that is CEO, Chief Executive Officer. For the operations, it is COO, Chief Operations Officer. For marketing and sales, it is CRO, Chief Revenue Officer. Oh shoot, I messed that up. Oh, give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Page 9. Damn. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. So let me re-say that. So for management, it is CEO, the president, the chief executive officer. In the operations, it is COO, chief operations officer. In marketing, oh my god, I'm right. Oh my god, guys, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. In marketing and sales, it is the chief revenue officer. In finance and accounting, it is the chief financial officer. And in research and development, it is the chief technological officer or technician officer. I don't know. Yeah, CTO. Fun stuff. So management is going to be a really big one. So let's talk about the operations, marketing, sales, finance, accounting, and research and development first. So in operations, an operation manager basically just oversees input and output processes, and they are in charge of overseeing like the factors of production, input and output, which we talked about at the beginning of our live stream. In terms of the function area of marketing and sales, the manager basically kind of organizes, but the people will be identifying customers' needs and controlling the customer's perception of the business, which is very important because they are in charge of promoting their services and products, the delivery style. Like Japan is very good at delivering products, not really delivering, but like packaging products. Like they really value high class packaging, and that sells. And I'm a victim of their packaging. I buy super cute stuff because of packaging. The marketing and sales also are in charge of the pricing strategy and curating an internet presence. Basically, they're just like, what does the market need, right? And it doesn't even have to be like the public customers, it can be other insider businesses. They just have to recognize that this is something that the company needs to sell, and we're going to make a way to sell this to other businesses and like just customers, and things that they can sell to other businesses. This could be a supplier, or this could also be a process. If a company creates a new technological process that might help a company with similar business ventures, then they can sell the process. It's a patent, it's a license that we mentioned earlier in legal. So, anyways, another function area is finance and accounting, and this is very important because the finance manager is in charge of the short and long-term financial capital needs and goals. They are keeping track of how much can we spend on this adventure and how much do we have to cut back on, and how are we budgeting and what department is getting cut. Basically, they are planning, obtaining, and managing the company's fund, and there are different types of managers or financial managers that we discussed. Oh, y'all weren't supposed to see my notes, but that's okay. Okay. What is this? Thanks. Okay, so the different types of accountings that we have is managerial accounting, which basically collects data, receipts, income, and expenditures, and this goes to the CEO for planning. Then we also have financial accounting, which like processes which process of recording, summarizing, and reporting the myriad of transactions resulting from business operations over a period. And this information usually goes to like investors and vendors. And then tax accounting information goes to the IRS, the government, because keeping track of different financial stuff within the company is important because auditing. Yeah, the company that I work at went through an audit recently, and like I was supposed to be doing that, and it was crazy. So that made me realize that I am great at being an accountant, but I don't want to do that, so I will not be doing it. But I definitely can do it if I ever wanted to shift towards that way. But I don't think I want to. Anyways, so the last function area is research and development. And basically, this department is just full of professionals that research and develop a product that may be new or is already there to keep up with the competition and all that jazz. They also like develop new processes, which is what I was talking about earlier in marketing and sales, how they could sell a new process. So that is the main function area. Like that's what you got to memorize: management, operation, marketing, sales, finance, accounting, and research and development. So management is going to get really big. What did I say? So we're in for a big one. We're in for a big one. Yo, I'm going to try to wrap this up as soon as possible because I cannot be talking anymore. Basically, management is the most important area of function in a business because you are managing and organizing everything. Managers schedule, divide, and make sure the business has enough inputs and inputs to create outputs, and they make sure to be effective and efficient with resources. They have to be setting up the groundwork and systems for the organization. So this is management theory. We're going to talk about that we're going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about management theory now. I put it at the top for a reason. So here's a big old management theory. So, guys, I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. Can we take a break? Shoot, it's already 11:51. And let me just finish this. I'm pushing myself. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways. So we have 3 names that we have to remember for the management theory and like just the process of how that is made. So Frederick Taylor was the guy that was like, we need to improve our efficiency. We need to improve our workflow. How do we reduce processing times? And that's what he did with time studies, right? He's like, what's the best way to work? How can we train an employee to their max efficiency? Like, what is the best way? What is the best action to do this the fastest? Like y'all played video games before, right? You gotta find the shortest amount of time if you're speedrunning or if you're just doing menial tasks and you're trying to get it done. Like, I know, I've been there. Anyways, the second name is Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. All you gotta remember is Gilbreth. Basically, they agreed with Frederick Taylor, but they were more interested in work motion and workers' welfare. They were basically like, how can we get the workers to do less work? Let's just do machines. So yeah, workers' welfare, slay. So the most important name here is Henry Fayol, and he was a guy who was like, we need to organize and get our jazz together, right? His whole idea was the line of command, who reports to who. And he basically split up his idea to the 5 duties of a manager and the principles of good management. So the 5 duties of a manager include foresight, where you plan and anticipate and do actions for the future. You need to have a good organization, which means you have to provide or have the resources available for the plans that you have. Another duty that the managers have is to command. You have to select and lead the best worker with great instructions. Next is to coordinate. So you as a manager has to coordinate a diverse amount of people and efforts. Everybody's like inputting their own thing, and you have to just fit their diverse efforts together. So the fifth and final duty of a manager is control, and they just basically have to verify that things are going into plan. So, anyways, what are the principles of a good manager? Scalar chain, which basically means an unbroken chain of command. So it's slowly going up. It's slowly going up and it's slowly going down, but it cannot be broken because then everything will be in shambles. Unity of command, which basically means that the employees receive instructions from only one superior. So there's like one person that we all go to, back to the initial thought of line of command, who reports to who. That's his whole idea. Next is unity of direction. Activities that are similar should be the responsibility of one person, which is why earlier when we were talking about function areas, we only had 5. Management deals with managing, organizing and planning and scheduling and seeing objectives for the future. Financials, marketing and sales, research and development, and operations. Like that's the main areas. Like that's why we have to separate it up. Anyways, so that's unity of direction. And finally, it is division of work, because he's like, management should not be doing physical labor. Management is doing all of the mental work. So that's Henry Fayol. He's doing his best. I'm doing my best, honestly. So different management levels, right? There are different levels to management because we gotta make sure everybody is on their A game. So let's talk about it. So top manager, this is usually the CEO and basically anybody from the top. Their role as a top manager is to define an organization's objective. They are to scan external environments for opportunity, and they are the one that create long-range plans and create critical decisions if anything is happening within their plan. Middle managers are probably the most important because they truly be going through that jazz, Middle managers are the people that allocate resources to achieve the goals and objectives set by the top managers, and they oversee the first line managers. They're basically like, we gotta allocate everything over here. We gotta take things from the top. We also have to control things from the bottom. They're doing everything. And then first line manager, which is also important. I feel like all the managers aren't important, you guys. Top, middle, and first line. The first line managers basically coordinate activities developed by the middle. So let me break it down for you. The top creates the objectives and long-term plans. The middle kind of allocates the resources and creates the activities to do those plans. And the first line are like, let's do this. We are coordinating this with all of the workers and employees. Yeah. They also just supervise non-managerial employees and just report back to the middle, so then the middle can mess around with the resources and then report back to the top manager. So honestly, I don't think the middle even reports back to the top manager. The middle just needs to make sure that they're doing everything that the top manager says. Once again, CEO. Those are the different levels of management. So what skills do you need to have? Well, you need to have conceptual skills. You need to know what the company's business and ideals are. And this is very important for top managerials and middle managerials because that's what is driving the company and creating conceptual skills and objectives out of nothing but a vision. Human and emotional intelligence is very important for the first line managers and the middle managers because they are dealing with people the most and they have to communicate their plans effectively. And lastly is the technical skills, and that is with the first line management and the middle management. Oh no, I think I messed that up actually. Let's see. Y'all, please. Okay, yeah. First line management just says technical and human skills. I'm tired. Wow, I'm exhausted. I didn't realize that. I'm Okay, we're almost there. Yeah, those are the skills that you need. Middle managers be needing a lot of skills. So, in management, the most important things that you have to figure out is your plan, how you organize, how you control and monitor people, how you lead and direct, and how you motivate people. And what you need to study for the midterm is plan, organize, control, and lead. Those are the 4 things that you need to memorize for management. But let's delve into plan. Wow, that's a big one. So when you're planning, you are setting short-term and long-term plans for the business. Top managerial, that's your role. And you need to figure out your vision statement. Where is the company going? What do you envision for the company? And second is the mission statement, outline how the vision will turn into a reality, right? Which basically means you need goals and objectives. And once a mission is established, you are ready to plan. And basically, what you need to memorize for plans is strategic plan, tactical plan, operational plan, contingency plan, and SWOT. So this is all very important to planning because the strategic plan translates the mission into a set of long and short-term goals. Tactical plans translate high-level strategic plans into specific actions that need to be taken up and down the layers of organization. So that's middle manager. And then the operational plan is a detailed standards that are to guide the implementation of tactical plans, activities, and budgets. So that's like the first line managers, basically, if you really think about it. And finally, the contingency plan is a course of action in response to possible future events. And this is going back to the top manager. And you're just planning ahead of time, foresight, like Henry Fayol said. So one thing that is really important when you are planning is a SWOT, SWOT. It is projecting expectations and anticipating problems, which will guide your decision making. You need to make sure you know what your company's strengths are, S. You know what your company's weaknesses are, W. You need to know what upcoming opportunities there are, O, and what upcoming threats there are for your company, threats. And that all needs to be included in your plan because you gotta know what's up. So, anyways, just to reiterate, in management, there's plan, organize, control, and lead. And within plan, there's strategic, tactical, operational, contingency, and SWOT. So let's do organize. So in organization, you are just organizing the resources in the most effective way. And once again, we were talking earlier about conservative resources. I think that's a word. Factors of production, basically. Span of control is basically how many members of subordinates that you, a supervisor, has. And it used to be limited, but now it's expanded due to technology. So you can literally have a crap ton of subordinates. What is important with your span of control is the division, product, and region. Like, how are we separating your span, right? And usually that's like product departmentalization and geographic departmentalization. You know, earlier I made a joke, not in this live stream, just earlier in general, I made a joke about like departmentalization, that's what you do with your emotions. But then I Googled it to make sure that my joke was accurate, and it was not. The actual correct word was compartmentalization. And it was really disappointing because I thought I was being funny, but honestly, I just got my vocabulary wrong. But like, honestly, compartmentalize your emotions, babe. JK, don't do that. That's a trauma response. Take care of yourself, guys. So, next up is within management. Again, I'm going to reiterate that is plan, organize, control, lead. The 4 things that are very important in management is controlling people. Basically, controlling staff and monitoring. It all falls under like the different levels of management. But let's talk about the control process because this thing is huge. So, in the control process, the thing that you have to know is that you are setting standards and goals, you are measuring performances, you're comparing actual performances to established performances, then you take corrective action, then you use the information gained from the process to set up future performance standards. And that's basically the control process. That's how you are controlling things and making sure that things are working. You're setting the standards, you're measuring people, you're comparing what you measured and what is already made, and you're like, y'all need to fix this. and you're gonna use that information to like better yourself. Control. Anyways, why is this important? It basically just helps like the management head determine whether operations are going according to plan, and if like you are achieving your operational goals. Like, are you meeting the quota? Like, that's important for a business, especially if you're big scale. So, anyways, within the control process, it's definitely important to have some SMART goals. And again, that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. Because if you're just trying to get rich without being specific and like measuring that and like achieving, like making it achievable and like being realistic and timely, then what are you doing? You know, I don't know. But something that is very important in control process is the performance measurement. You know how earlier we were talking about compare the actual performance to an established performance. How are you going to get the established performance? Well, that is where performance measurement comes in and performance metric. So, to determine a performance metric, you first have to describe the target objective, and then you're going to evaluate any possible measurements and metrics that are available. And once you evaluate the possible measurements, you're going to identify the correct metric for each objective. Then you start setting targets and determining how the data will be interpreted. So, like, what does this to mean for this employee? You know, there was a word that I just saw, and it was like production level quota. I don't know. It was on a reel. It was a real word, I promise, but it was a metric. That's what I wanted to bring up. Oh my god. Okay, we're almost done, girl. So basically, to like have a performance metric, you have to describe, evaluate, identify, set your targets, and define and document the performance metric, and repeat the process and procedures, because you gotta make sure it works. And yeah. So one thing that's super important to performance metric is the balanced scoreboard, and is used to analyze and improve key performances indicators within an organization. So like a balanced scoreboard, basically like, are we being good? And a balanced scoreboard includes financial, customer, internal, learning, and growth. So, like in terms of financial, how are we looking to shareholders? In terms of customers, how do the customers perceive us? In terms of internal business processes, what are we going to excel at? And learning and growth, how can we improve and create more value? So that is the balance scoreboard, and that's how it's under performance metric. And like once you figure out what your performance metric is, you got to take corrective action, because you can't just have a low performance measurement. You know what I mean? So just to reiterate, management is plan, organize, control, and lead. And within control process, you got to set your standards, measure your performance, compare your metrics, take corrective action, and use the information to do better. All right. And it's important because you got to make sure that operations are going according to operational goals. You got to make those goals SMART goals. All right. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. You got to make sure that your performance metric is like created with a target objective, and it's evaluated with possible measurements. You need to identify, you gotta set your targets, and you need to define documentation, and then scoreboard, financial, customer control, learning, growth, and then corrective actions. Guys, I'm so tired. We're almost done. So, oh my god, what the heck? So, and last and final area within management is lead. A community leads your customers, lead your suppliers. You have to lead and direct. So, management styles. How are you going to lead, right? So we have three separate types of management styles, and that is autocratic / authoritarian. Basically, the decisions are made by the manager only, okay? It's quick and it's effective, and it's definitely great for emergency situations, but it's definitely not successful for fostering a happy workplace environment and like employee engagement and satisfaction. But like, hey, you're getting things done. Like, it's quick, it's snap, bada bing, bada boom. Another type of management style is laissez-faire or free reign. It's hands off, and it's usually like delegation with little to no instructions, and it may result in the lack of productivity, cohesion, and satisfaction, but is really effective in a highly skilled, creative, motivated, and independent groups. So, for example, research and development, like it's basically like create a product, research a new product, do good, because research and development usually entails engineers and scientists. So That's where laissez-faire really pops off. But that's kind of it for laissez-faire. The final management style is participative and democratic management styles, and that is where you are sharing decision-making authority. Like, yo, what do you guys think of the new coffee machine? Like, are we gonna change it? Like, what are we gonna do? It's really effective during a transitional period because it gets employees invested in the outcome and it makes the employees feel included. And also, democratic management styles may uncover people with very invaluable experience, advice, and solutions. It's just important to get to know the people, right? So yeah, again, management styles include autocratic slash authoritarian, laissez-faire slash free rein, or participative slash democratic. So those are the management styles. But let's talk about leadership styles, which are very similar to the management styles, but like it's different, you know? So, in terms of leadership styles, we have 3 different leadership styles, and that is transformational, basically works with subordinates to identify needed change. It enhances motivation and morale, and it just and like leaders who transformational leaders are able to connect a subordinate's identity to a project to like raise their interest. So, for example, my boss slash supervisor was like, "Oh my god, you really like social media, right? Like, do you want to handle our company's social media?" And I was like, "Oh my god, yeah." So, I've been doing that recently. So, that's oh my god, I don't okay. Another leadership style is transactional leadership, which is basically all supervision, organization, and performance. It's reward and punishment, right? It's contingent reward. You recognize good performances, and management by exception. Leaders will intervene when subordinates are not meeting the acceptable levels. Like, we are here and we are here to grind. The last type of leadership style is a narcissistic leader, and those types of leaders are very visionary, charismatic, and attract and inspire a lot of followers. Sadly, they have a very fierce internal competition, and a lot of their internal staff are fighting with each other to gain like that superiority, and they're always changing alliances. Not very slay. They also tend to listen to advice that only supports their view. And since narcissistic leaders are very are very in need of self-affirmation and like not affirm, they have self-worth issues, okay? And they need affirmation. So they create a business full of yes people, and that's not always helpful. So those are the 3 types of leadership styles. Again, that's transformational, transactional, and narcissistic. And just to do a quick reminder for management is authoritarian, free rein, and democratic. So lastly, the leadership style actually does a lot to corporate culture, which is the attitude, values, and standards and behaviors within a corporations. So as a manager, you are affecting a lot of people, so be responsible and be a good manager. Anyways, just to review everything over, the function areas for a business includes management, operations, marketing, sales, finance, accounting, research, and development. And within management, we have a lot of different management theories, such as time studies, such as efficiency, line of command, and workers' welfare. And the name that you really just gotta remember is Henry Fayol. Fayol. The different levels include top, middle, and first line. Skills are technical, conceptual, and human social skills. But anyways, in terms of management, you just gotta remember plan, organize, control, and lead. And God. And within plan, you gotta remember strategic, tactical, operational, and contingency and SWOT. Within organize, you got to remember span of control and division. Within control, you got to remember the whole control process, which is basically setting standards, measuring the performances, comparing the performances to establish performance metric, taking corrective action, and using the information gained from the process to set up future performance standards. And it's important to make sure that operations are going according to plan. And with SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Make sure that the performance metric describes the target objective, evaluates possible measurements, identify the correct metric, and you're setting targets. and seeing how the data is interpreted, like what does this number mean within this company, and like you're defining and documenting everything and making sure that things are good. And it's very important to take a look at the balance scoreboard, because it makes sure that like, are we where we're at in terms of our key performances, like are our indicators good. And it's in the balance scoreboard usually looks at financial, customer, internal learning, and growth. Guys, I'm exhausted. Anyways, and so that was the function area of a business. It's a very big category. And anyways, our final business is ownership, which is not that bad. I'm gonna go through this real quick because it's almost 2 hours. So anyways, within ownership, we have considerations to start off a business, because like, how are you going to own this thing, right? You got to make sure that the start-off cost, the responsibilities, the profit share, tax, entrepreneurship, your entrepreneurship ability, risks, tolerance, finance, and continuability and transferability. Like, how are you going to continue this business after you die? Like, I don't know. Those are considerations that you need to make when you open up a business. Anyways, what types of business can you open? So 72% of the US market is actually sole proprietorship, which basically means the owner is entitled to all of the business profit, debts, losses, and liabilities. Like your social security number is connected to this. You are connected to this. If you connect your business and loans to your house, and if your business goes bankrupt, then they're taking your house. Like, I don't know why people do sole proprietorship, but they do. So yeah, that's basically sole proprietorship. You take up everything. And 8% of the US market actually does partnerships, basically the same thing as sole proprietorship, but you are sharing responsibilities. Yo, I can't stream. Like, my voice is absolutely dying after 2 hours of speaking nonstop. I'm gonna wake up feeling really bad tomorrow. But we've been new. Basically, they share responsibilities, and to open one, you just need a tax ID number from the IRS, and you have to do annual information, return, income, deduction, loss, and gains, and basically, y'all do personal tax returns, okay? Y'all are doing your own thing. But basically, this sole proprietorship pretty easy to set up. So 20% of the U.S. market is actually corporate, and corporate basically means it's owned by the public, because in corporate we have 3 separate types of corporations. That includes C Corp, S Corp, and B Corp. So corporates actually have their own corporate personhood, which basically means they can legally be a corporate can get into a contract and can get sued and be sued. Like, a person is not doing the contract, the business is doing the contract, and then business takes responsibility for it, basically. So a key so, earlier we talked about C, S, and B Corps. So the first one, the most common, is a C Corp, which is basically independent legal entities owned by shareholders. So like Microsoft, you can buy shares, and basically that means you own it. And the kind of operations, like hierarchy of control, is like board of directors and then CEO, and it's like shareholders, board of directors, CEO, and then that goes back into the management and then operations of everything. So that's the hierarchy of that within shareholders and C corporation. They are a separate tax-paying entity, so like the owner, the CEO, does not pay taxes based on the corporation's profits, right? Like the corporation pays for their own tax. It is a limited liability. That means that the owner doesn't take all of the liabilities, compared to like sole proprietorship, which is actually like sole proprietorship is so scary. But anyways, and then yeah, so C corporations actually go under corporate tax treatment, which means the owner is separate from the corporation. That's what we mentioned earlier, limited liability and all that fun. Anyways, so double taxing profits, and basically C corporations get double taxed because they get taxed with their profits, and then when dividends are paid to shareholders, they get taxed. They get taxed again. So anyways, continuing on to an S corporation. It's basically a corporation that tries to avoid double taxation, and that basically means that only the shareholders get taxed and the company doesn't get taxed. But because the shareholders are like, if you're benefiting from like not paying taxes, then you better compensate us if we're the one that is literally the one that's giving you the ability to not pay taxes because we're your shareholders. So like even if you don't pay taxes, like you don't get double taxation, that's what I mean. Shareholders, like, we deserve compensation so that, you know. Anyways, profit and losses pass through the personal tax returns. So this is personal tax returns. It's going through that. The S Corp allows for independent life from shareholders, definitely compared to C Corp, how we were talking about earlier, shareholders, executive board of directors, and then executive chief officer, and then management. So that's basically the difference. You get some tax deductions, but administration fees definitely go up. Not like administration fees, but like just administration requirements definitely go up because you need a lot more paperwork and you need to keep track of a lot of more things. And the final corporation is a B Corp, which is basically a general public benefit, and it's a for-profit version of a nonprofit. So if anything goes bad, like, we'll try to protect your mission statement. There's a lot of transparency required because you are claiming things to basically benefit the public, which means you can get away with some taxes, but there are annual fees, and you do have to comply a lot with the government because, like, hey, we're here to help the people, the public. So those are the 3 different types of ownerships, but we do have some hybrid ownerships, which include the LLC, limited liability company, which is basically the same thing as a sole proprietorship, but it's limited liability. So you yourself are not liable for everything. Your company is, like, you know, your company as an entity is liable for that. It's let's see. Members may share the profits, however, so like you can have as many partnerships within a limited liability company, LLC, but you do have to pay self-employment tax because it's not a corporation. It's not its own entity, right? So you have to pay your own personal taxes. But, like, you know, it's a mix of a sole proprietorship and a corporation, so, you know, LLC. It's different per state, so yeah, basically limited liability features of the corporation. That's what all the corporates have. It's a shield that basically means that you yourself are not liable. An LLP is a limited liability partnership, which is the same thing as a partnership that we spoke about earlier, except all partners have a limited liability. So what you invested is what you are liable for. If someone else is they are responsible for their misconduct, not you. And it differs per state. Like, some states don't even recognize business, like LLP, as a legal business structure, but, like, you know, LLC for the win. So yeah, for an LLP, you don't really need a board of directors, and you can allocate the profits among your partners, and it's a single taxation. So the final different types of ownerships in business is a franchise owner, which we talked about earlier today, mergers, acquisitions, and that is it. Now that this study sesh is over, I am completely exhausted, and I will be going to bed right after this. Anyways, I think tomorrow the plan is going to be just review our past 3 quizzes, look over that one presentation that I decided not to do, and go over the review questions and practice problems. Anyways, I hope you all have a good night. It is 12:30 a.m. and my voice is dead inside, so I'm gonna go to bed. So I hope you all enjoyed. It was truly a struggle. Like, I honestly want to, like, just pass out immediately. You know what I mean? But hey, oh, that's my bed. I don't want the internet to see that, but it's honestly probably too late. But that is all for tonight. Nobody joined the entire stream, but, like, I knew because I was looking at the people. Little button. I might stream more in the future. I don't know, but, like, maybe not for an hour. Good night. That was business management 1010. I hope it was useful. It was a quick raw dog overview. Good night. Wow. This didn't even work how I wanted to work. Okay, bye.